Alright. This is my video response to lambdog76 on YouTube. This particularly could be pertaining the he calls it my YouTube story series playlist on YouTube. He's got quite a few other creators on there too. Before he discontinued it for a while, but it's a complete source all of us. It's like he's got a lot of his own takes, short videos about what he's been doing with his journey and how he started and all that. And hold on. Okay. And how it worked for him in ways that it was interesting, and I'm actually kind of impressed that the way that his community, like not even if it was a big one, but like just talking about the way he commutes, like the way he does his content, and the way he interacts with his fellow YouTubers and citizen community. Just he he and his friends alike, the way that they've grown up with YouTube, especially since the beginning of the platform. Oh my gosh, it's webcam. Uh, they so many. I'll just keep pushing through. Okay, they have done it in a way that I define as being traditional, and I also see it as being like it's not with the constraints of being a content creator. Which, by the way, even being a content creator is a beauty in itself, because content creation is a very wonderful thing. It's like the idea of being someone of high value before you value yourself, and you can already have value yourself, because I already value myself without having to be a creator, but highly already. But so like without the worlds of content creation, and knowing that in spite that they exist, if even back then, because creativity has been a thing the entire time, and so has making videos even, I think. But with YouTube, it's like the community that Lambdog has been immersed in, and like the way that he has expressed his insightful and deep thoughts and philosophies and social commentaries and adventures, he has been able to do this in a way that is very approachable and for profound without having to make it a bigger deal than the ideal of content creation. So you didn't have to become a content creator in order to do those things, in order to be that significant and fascinating of a person who can express his thoughts on the whim, no matter whether it's a short or long video, no matter whether it's about guns or the people he loves or politics or anything else he cares about. It's a very nice thing that I think his name's Ron. How Ron actually ran about these things. I always felt like Lambdog. I think you seem to be someone. I've always thought about this before, because I met you on VidMe, but like that was at least when you tried it there, and I was always inspired by you back then. Even when I went back to YouTube for other reasons. I didn't avoid YouTube. By the way, I didn't avoid YouTube just to go to VidMe. I was just curious about VidMe, and then I went back to YouTube for my own reasons, more legitimately, without actually knowing what I was actually trying to escape, if I was. But I always felt like you were someone that I could actually respect enough to even have as a mentor figure. I actually always wondered about that. Like if I would have you as a at least semi mentor figure, not a father figure. Jesus, I have plenty of those in my life, even beyond my actual dad. But like, and he's still alive, so you know. But I always felt like you were someone who could at least guide me if possible. Like I know that you have your own sense of boundaries and personal life to consider, and you don't mean that in a bad way either. But it's like you do have your own life. You have to fix those cars, I think, or orient those kinds of equipments and guns or whatever. But I forget how that works for you. But like I know you're some kind of engineer, I guess. Well, like I think, but I always felt like you would have been a fantastic mentor for me, because with old Sparrow is a good enough of a guider. Like I asked him for advice sometimes. The old Sparrow, if you know him, I asked him for some advice, and he has his own flavor. He has his own ideals and personality and philosophies, just like you. So if you were a social commentator, that would be fantastic. But even just the unboxing Japanese and other countries' snacks is pretty fun to watch from him. But anyways, Old Sparrow was a good mentor to me. I mentored someone myself for a while. I think I was like for like 5+ minutes. I talked to this one kid at a pool, and he was very intelligent the way he was. He was very prepared. I don't want to have to say mature, because I have different philosophies for that. But when I mentored him, and he was my mentee, technically, he even inspired me, and I gave him some advice, and I'll be in a weird tonality and immersion, because I was in a bad place back then. But technically speaking, but I mentored him, and he was someone that I respected, because I didn't actually I knew people like him could exist, if that's too deep. But I really believed in that kind of thing. But he was someone that made me realize that even if there was nothing I had to share with my experiences to prove something, having to do something just so I can prove it or prove someone wrong, or which some people think of me right sometimes, but in the general sense of having something to prove and having to see that if you never had to have anything against a subjective experience or a 100% subjective experience with everything in the world being subjective or whatever. However people go about that. Oh, there's no wisdom. Oh, there's no. We never really know anything, or I never will know anything, or learning never ends. Those philosophies always bothered me, and that was actually my gambit. I didn't have to be the kind of insightful person to just prove that anything would exist or not exist. You see my deep dark episodes on all Crossman, by the way, if you want to see them. At least before I name my channel my real name. But yeah, Lambdog, you're just someone that I respect you, not just because you're a deep, unique person, but because you actually you give light to an ideal of living. Like similar like Ryan for Take Inventory. I just met him through Young Avell's channel, and he's a fantastic dude. He's just a kid. I'm not comparing to me. I'm technically a 24-year-old kid myself, but those standards implied. Ryan was just someone that I like. Take Inventory. He was a good psychological and philosophical ideal thing. Very intelligent person himself. Like the rest, a lot of us are. But I like being his friend. I like being someone that could just be in his midst and be like, yeah, this is a guy who reminds me that life is worth living, and that even if things never really are learned or not learned, I've always had wisdom of my own that I take for granted, even that I will never go against for my own reasons. I do everything for a reason, by the way. I don't have regrets about that, Sarah. So I'm gonna probably just push for 10 minutes if I can, or 13. Lambdog, I think. If you were at least like someone who could just maybe guide me every once in a while, you don't have to actually be like a mentor figure, or even just somehow if you were able to guide me in some ways without asking too much, just showing me like from what you understand about me, like what you could offer in terms of advice, I guess, or whatever listening you would give. But that's just me. I don't even have to make like that sound creepy, but just this is not gonna be edited, by the way. I'm just gonna just straight up your community style of content. I'm not trying to degrade by saying that, but just like I always get off the cuff about Consecration because quality always bothers me. I don't want to have to always trim every part of my content and quality everything, and just that makes me sound like I'm not a content creator, but I've been one the whole 2+ years. So what's that for you? There's not that there's always high standards for content creation. You can always do anything with it, but in creativity in particular, I've even had grandmas about creativity. Jesus, I'm like, actually, I trust creativity. Should I trust being someone who could niche down or whatnot? Just consistent uploads. Which, by the way, with uploads, I can probably, as with this viewer response, I was gonna follow that up with 1 or 2 dailies, easy ones, obviously raw uploads, but like these, but where I just talk about something every day, if not twice a day, and that I can maintain easily because I have high value and new ideas all the time. Not, especially considering my backstory, which I may have already gotten to in this video already, but and I guess one more thing you need to know is that I fake half these emotions. I fake half these emotions. I don't have to do that, but that's just how I do things to make sure that I can fake it till I make it, or at least to do them to prove that I care. Like with your video about meaning of life, I think I liked how you mentioned proof of existence. That was always what got me going about emotional context, because there was another person he was one of the actors from Madam Secretary on ABC, and when he was on Colbert's show, say what you will about Stephen Colbert, but I think it was not him or someone else, whatever. When he was on his show, whatever, a late show, on a hosting program, he mentioned how the arts is not just valuable for how beautiful it is, but the emotional context is driven in that sense where you can show that in ways not even science can do, not even just the scientific technological advances, STEM, I guess, or STEAM. He mentions that it should be STEAM, not STEM. I've always been passionate about science myself in STEAM and STEM, but I've always disregarded the arts because when the arts was introduced to me, I was always thinking, well, okay, yeah, I may need an outlet for creativity because I clearly have, I perhaps have creativity, but should I trust creativity? Should I be the person who just does creativity just because my father offered it, as a way to express myself, which I could have easily taken the offer on anyways, but just, but because I eat cartoony, I guess, and I still define myself as a cartoonist, but an insightful one and a reflective one. Maybe the channel name afterwards instead of my real name. Even if I get the custom URL by 100 something otherwise, but so it was with science and art. I think the art he mentioned that the arts was had emotional context that could drive for a culture and a society and a philosophy that could be very much desired and helpful for people in their traumas and their daily lives and all that. And that's something that not the sciences can't always do. Not to dismiss what you do, lambdog, with with traditional standards, like with gun rights, I guess, and all the other things. But just if and maybe even the troll community, but at large, as you can clearly see, I am a claymation, stop motion animator, whatever person. I just, the thing with that stuff was that like I just said about the creativity. It was something I had to learn how to trust, and there was a tragedy behind all that stuff. A lot of my life stories is pertaining not just what I do with my passions or talents or skills or blessings. It's stuff like that where I have some sense of grit despite the fact that I'm bad action orientation, but I'm the kind of person who just doesn't want to just. I'm very patient, but I'm not the person who wants to just feel like they wasted their life on not doing or doing certain wrong things. There's a lot to this. I don't believe everything I'm just saying. I'm saying certain things that I don't actually believe in for a reason. I do everything for a reason. I'm the kind of person who, if you mentored me for a while at least, if even semi-wise, you wouldn't be disappointed. You would know that I would improve certain things. I'll forget the rest on accident, but I have tragedies with things like claymation. I have tragedies with like how I oriented my life. I've been gifted with the blessing of doing everything for a reason, because when I got to it, as much as I'm talking too fast and all this other stuff, again, faking the nonverbal cues. It's nice that I see that I find life more enticing than ever, even though it was only wonderful at first and privileged maybe, and then suddenly it felt like it didn't mean anything. But I never felt personally that it didn't mean anything. I got to a point where I was like, okay, I might as well be positive and making things better while I can, even if I don't actually think they're worth it. And I did think they were worth it, but they were just, working differently. I love your social commentary. I love that you don't back away from things that could make you angry, even though in some videos you did look like you were pretty out there. But you never gave up, and you were always the kind of person who just, if that was cliche, I guess, you were always the kind of person who would put things into words, even if you could easily put something in a fist fight. But you're always about loving people, one another, as you say before. You're always about, that's only 3 minutes, okay, 13. You're always about loving one another. You're always about knowing that you could easily single out something or even multiple things in a very insightful and deep way that can be easily describable for you. And that's a very a bizarre and amazing thing, considering that you may be in your 30s or 40s, but or whatnot. But even that wouldn't place you too much ahead of Sparrow at this point. Sparrow's wise where he is at in his late 30s, but I'm not just trying to be ageist, I guess. Hopefully, okay. I hope that doesn't make me spunk. But between you, I think I can compare you to some other people I've known, not just the deeper abstract people, but that's not always the same thing. But like Zen Huxtable, as mentioned, from maybe who's now Digibro, because some of those people are intellectuals as well. They are very deep people that can word things specifically without forcing them to be objective or sophisticated, and universal and subjective would be another way. So just you can, while it's nice to have people who embrace a no one size fits all approach and have ways to approach everybody's ideals and opinions and be patient with them and all that. It is very wonderful to have people who are certain enough that they know what they know, even if they make them ignorant in the process. It's a very brave thing to do. I do it all the time myself. I'm like, what if I know this? And sometimes I already believe strongly enough that those things I do know well enough. But that would just be me. I don't force my wisdom is. I just go with ideals, and I've always liked the approach that if your advice is something that you only give it not to be smug or selfish or blunt or stubborn, or whatever most people may not think they accompany, but they may already do that, unfortunately. But the idea of advice being something that you would give because you have experiences that not necessarily validate, but you have experiences that make it seem that you actually have a way to help people, and you're not trying to be selfish or smug. And again, people may not think they accompany these ideals already. They may think they're outside them. They may maybe already be within them, unfortunately. But one more thing. I hate it when people say I should look from within. I'm just gonna say that out loud for some reason. I hate that. There are very few things I'll get under my skin because I'm a patient person who pretty much will be the stepping mat of the universe. Not in a blunt way, or not even a braggy way. I do bear a lot more things than I really should. That's why I have issues with boundaries. And when one of your last tweets on Twitter were about ever since were like you're not gonna be so close to us that you wouldn't know the difference. But stuff like that. But no offense, lambdog, but it's just my boundaries suck. It's not that I never would care about self-respect, but like yeah, but I've always had a big weird gambit. I keep using the word gambit. Am I using the word right? That self-respect, boundaries, personal responsibility, those things in that matter. If they would ever matter to me, and there's not even supposed to so much matter. It's supposed to be used, but people who don't think they matter won't ever get to that point. So, and priority is another thing, and that's the paradox of what I'm saying is that not necessarily hypocrisy, but the paradox of what I'm saying is that yes, I have a weird ideal against the phrase, not everything is important. Priorities are in place. I don't always see it that way, but at the same time, I'm the kind of person who doesn't have boundaries. So is that a paradox or hypocrisy? I would not know, but I establish boundaries working backwards, and I make it so that I have priorities in some form, even if I don't believe in them. There's a way, and one more insightful thing I'll say is that if I haven't already, is that there is a way to have priorities. To believe in an ideal without actually doing anything about it. That would be the anti-interest kind of thing. I have always been criticized about that, whereas like I do kind of have a fear criticism, by the way. I have a big fear criticism. But where I've said that you can care about something without being interested. You can be interested in something without doing anything about it. And people always were like, no, that's not possible. So that's how I deal with my hobbies as a content creator. So possibly as a content creator without hobbies, that's even worse than me. Hobbies without content creation. At least you would actually know what you're doing. But I always know what I'm doing, apparently. But it makes me think, because I think the ideas I was trying to push primarily was that I can promote an idea without actually agreeing with it. There's many people who can already do that if that's not a bad idea or pushable. Whether that's already been done or not done at all. But guarantees, guarantee not. Mandatory, forbidden. Oh, geez, Deep Rock episode 3. Well, if you haven't seen that, at least. If anyone hasn't screwed my channel, after we watch this video response, at least. But, I'll keep pushing this video. I just, on the length at least, I had to be free with this. I had to just run on for myself. Not ramble. I said in the first vlog prototype that I defined rambling as being beyond 15 minutes before it starts to be a ramble. People will start by like 7 or 8 minutes and be like, yeah, I'm rambling. No. I'm saying that after like 3+ years of saying the same thing over and over. I'm not trying to make myself ignorant. It's just, but we will push. I'm going to push for well, we can stop at 23 then again. Yeah, we'll stop at 23. And if not, we could cut off early, but lambdog. What I get from your name, your username, is that you're someone who can hide in plain sight, but you're not hiding the worst possible things. You're someone who's like a hidden gem, who doesn't have to, not in a bad way, but doesn't have to care about having what would entail a content creation audience or growth or whatever, or attraction or monetization or whatever. That's obviously, none of those things have to ever be superficial. There's reasons to have them beyond the desperation so just to be bad. But I think that if you ever grew beyond what you have now with like already like 2,500 subscribers, it's like you do have that old commute with people that have known you since maybe 2005, or at least whenever YouTube was around. Like late 2005 was when it started, but almost nobody has had videos or interactions in 2005 with YouTube. It's like that's like so into the depths of knowing before you even know it's important to have that platform, or that it was gonna happen inevitably. But 2006 and 2007 I can understand, but 2005 is like a rarity. Because how would you know if it's important? Even if you know you saw it coming, how would you know it's important? But with the revolution on YouTube, I always felt, I actually mentioned this before on the social skills Discord, that I felt like consecration was something more revolutionary because of YouTube and other platforms and stuff like that, and the growth of things of our times, how you call that. But I felt like YouTube made consecration a little different in a way, and I also felt like YouTube was a new world in some ways, not always a bad way. I'm gonna mention a few other philosophies before 23. Okay. I don't believe in the information age. I don't believe in the phrase social justice warrior for terminology. I don't believe in in that same stance. I don't believe in straw manning, because that can be taken way too differently. I think entertainment is overimplied. I think results are overinflated. I think you can see Deep Talk episode 3. I freaking talk about 4 of these words, like entertainment, results, purpose, and stillness. Like, just. Yeah, I'm pretty unique at that point. I don't even have to even brag about that. It's undeniable that yes I'm a creative. I have to learn to respect and trust that. If that even give me Rain Man as quotes, because there's a end of the movie Rain Man where there's this one scene, and yes I'm autistic, so high functioning, but where I make a meme out of it where the airport scene, you can look up yourself, but like basically with that, yeah, I have to. Basically, the Rain Man guy just gets triggers from emotional memories, and I love the idea of emotional memories being a thing, but because that's always been my case scenario. Not even psychologists brought that up first. Usually, there would always be like the people experiencing autism spectrum disorder. He reacted so badly to every memory he had of a plane crash and every plane ride in existence throughout the country, for all the country listings, and he wouldn't ride any of them. That I memify that because I think it's significant. It's like it comes down to like a lot of my emotional or non-emotional memories, whichever ones, or even if they're the same thing. How I react to things because I remember them, even to the very phrases and words of things I remember. From my enemies using certain phrases and words that I won't use anymore, if I even would, and vice versa, or whatever. I have those kind of traumas. I don't have to overthink them, but I do have those kind of traumas. My tragedy isn't so much that I'll avoid giving people a chance, because I trust everybody for some reason, but and everything even. But my trauma and anxiety, I avoid certain things. Like I technically deny being stressed. I deny being overwhelmed. I deny being bored. I'm the kind of person who denies that, even if that's actually true. That I never had those things. But I'll go back to 23 then. Okay. Minutes. The things I've experienced, I still find myself as being a 24-year-old kid, but I'm the kind of person who just like, because I have a bit weird philosophy even from maturity actually, but I still feel young otherwise, and enthusiastic, even if I had lacked my emotions the entire time from PMO measures and all that, which is being curable through NoFap and optimal retention. Just look at my other vlogs if you want to find out about that stuff. Like NoFap can read, I guess, but yeah, still an addict unfortunately, but just we'll get through that over time. I never, people will think that I'm the kind of person who's not trusting people or not knowing what they're doing or whatever. So as someone who does everything for a reason but doesn't necessarily know what's going on around him, that's the backdrop of that, and who trusts everybody even more than he should, and who's usually patient with most things than he ever should be. But you wonder how I'm that kind of a wonder boy, and there are downsides to that kind of stuff directly, and I was also on the side as well. It's not so much that I'm only going to bear everybody's burden just so I don't avoid becoming them, because that was actually one of the maybe excuses was or reasons even, was that I was doing that so that I wouldn't become the people that betrayed me. That's why I was being patient and enduring. But if that would even include my enemies or bullies, but and bullying wasn't the worst thing in my life anyways. There was way worse things going on. There was a lot. If I'm denying that too, I'm sorry, but I don't think bullying was the worst thing that ever happened to me personally, even though it was so terrible. But people say that Twitter philanthropists, Rocky and Jason, talking about Twitter philanthropists and like other thieves in the rich community, stealing being worse than bullying. That's just one way to see it, I guess, because they're taking advantage of a lot of people. But even worse than bullies, I guess. But bullying can be more single centric, is focusing on one or two people or more, or multiple groups, and making them feel like killing themselves. Unfortunately, that's a really big deal. I always had a big philosophy about bullying because I knew that bullying seemed a little contrary compared to things like violence in video games and movies, and how you could think that bullying was something that was a bigger deal than it would be if they were playing around and horsing around. Then maybe, but if it was actually really bad. And the distinguishment, compare and contrast, is my favorite phrase for this. But the way that I like being oriented, how even if it was common sense, but if it wasn't, then if you were able to just know that you could help somebody that may or may not need it, even. But so that was my thoughts on bullying. But I think I have a tragedy that's different from most people. It has overlaps and similarities, which is what one of my bigger tragedies was confusion, and another one was being misunderstood and criticized, and another one was being the person who had all these blessings: my youth, my health, my success in certain things, my talents, my comfort in certain things, which without even defining that way. But even my appearance, actually. But I'm just the kind of person who found a way to do everything for a reason, who's too clever for his own good, who managed to just basically just do his, like, I managed to make this work. If I had any downsides from the things I have now, as a result from the things I suffered, I would have just been pissed off without emotions. Unless I get them back from my retention or whatever. But semen retention. But as much as I keep saying I don't have emotions anymore, or at least I'm just detached from the ones that exist in my brain still. I just need to get them back if I can, not fake all my nonverbal cues and all that. But I just think that it's amazing how I still have all these things. Lambdog, I know you're still talking about you in this video response. I'm sorry, but I still have all these things, and it boggles my mind how I actually went through life with people thinking I was the exact opposite of what I actually was. And then just not having to worry about, maybe not needing to worry about them or thinking about that, but then as a result of their actions for my own or inactions either way or whatever, however I overcomplicate that or even oversimplify that, blunt or eloquent, and that's me saying big words again. Oh, my communication skills, I have to improve those, or else no one will listen to me. Oops. Well, maybe not, but a lot of very nice people anyways, as maybe the Martian Chronicles will say. No, not Martian Chronicles, something else. It was another movie. Where there's more nice people than bad people for some reason. I believe that, but it was just hard to adjust to at first. I think maybe, but I'll push for 35, and then I will cut straight at 35 minutes, and yeah, it'll be brilliant if I keep talking. But I guess at that point I could just say this early. I'm not gonna stop right now, but yeah, say so much on the move and other video ideas or whatever. Yeah. But I'll keep talking here. A lambdog. So you have videos running from like 10 years into the past and plus, and it's like, and you probably already lived a fulfilling life without needing to over try things or overthink like I would do, obviously. Like I would do. But within your car vlogs, I like how you do car vlogs, by the way, because you're not like Daniel Almond from Vidme just going like, don't do car vlogging at all if you can, because it's really dangerous. You're not going to drive as easily as you can, so don't even think about multitasking. That's what he would say. I don't know. At least that's how it would make you feel, but how it would make us feel. But I think the thing with car vlogging is that some people try it for a while and they're like, no, this is so dangerous. I don't want to be I don't want to repeat the mistakes of other people. But I never felt like repeating mistakes of other people was going to scare me from doing something different. You can always, insanity isn't what people think it is. It's not the Einstein ideal. People who define something being bad and something else being less bad, but that's still being bad, and subjectiveness and whatever, I still think that's still things short. When people say that something is bad and something is almost as bad, but that's still bad, that's selling it way too short. That's like saying, when you say like that, it doesn't make it any worse that it happened. No, what the heck? That's all I can say about that for now, because I don't know how to keep brainstorming for that. But but yeah, where was I? Your car vlogs were interesting because you managed to say brilliant things in even a few minutes, and even your helmet, I guess, eventually. But the sunglasses were always a dousing, I guess. I don't know if I would ever be able to do car vlogs because I daydream a lot, so I might not even do the driver's ed as easily because I don't even drive. That's why I don't even find more half of my scenes outside my house, even also I'm walking outdoors, or even if I take advantage of someone else driving me somewhere. But as we're on 30 minutes, I think you're a very fascinating man. I think you just by golly, if I had to give you advice, and this is possible because I am insightful, but if I had to give you advice or even a pointers of what you could try to do, you are very well perfectly fine with the high value non-edited content. You do not even worry about being consecrated. That's not necessarily you anymore. I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm just like, you have a really good world going for you, no matter where it takes you, where the wind or path takes you. It just, I dare to put this into existence because I just can't. Obviously because I can, but also because I'm not. I hate the ideal. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. That always bothers me. And like I said before, looking from within when I'm a very introspective person. Jesus, when I ever hear that from people, I always fear criticism. I know it helps to learn from it, but it's like it's always been a fear. But it just being misunderstood from the opposite end of why I actually see myself, even though it helps to help people see me in different ways than I see myself. But any pointers I would give you, that's the first one, I guess, was to not worry about consecration ideals or whatever, which I don't think you would anyways. But and sorry about the glitches in this video, by the way. The visuals, webcam's acting up, but you, to my greed, you could attempt to do longer home vlogs, and then what you do with the car vlogs is that you making car vlogs longer is actually a little more selfish than I would think, but at least make the home vlogs longer if you ever do those again. But I think they're very long anyways, but like they're kind of longer than the car vlogs by comparison. Not just for safety or whatever, but I don't know. I've enjoyed long content anyways, even if I don't literally have time to watch all the content I make or other people make that are long. But I'm crazy because I'll enjoy long content, long form. Even though people will say, well, most people don't like long content. Would you like long content? I would be like, yes. Okay, then would they like long content? It's like, what? So they'll jump off a cliff. Would you jump off a cliff? Depends. It's just, these people just, I'm not trying to be contra when I say stuff like that. It's just, I'm not trying to be an asshole. It's true though. Like, you can't get me wrong for something that I do for a reason. I'm not selfish in that regard. I'm very clever. I'm not the kind of person who just thinks that they're gonna freak something up just cause they have to do the right thing or simplify things or whatever. That's not how I would work through these things. Here I am, just, and maybe not in the best position lately, but still doing everything for a reason. Maybe that will become to be its own regret somehow. But lambdog76. This is a video response to you. Hope you enjoyed this. I'm gonna go for a few more minutes anyways for some reason, maybe 36 just to break the 35. By golly, you don't have to watch the whole thing. But if this was the only response you got in the wall, then you might as well. But no, not bragging. But feel free to comment below if you need to say something about this, or if you wanted to put in the playlist. If I don't delete this, at least I'm not planning on deleting this video, but I do think that your playlist could really use videos that are more conformed in the same length, I guess. So it's not in the bad way, but like so they don't like log up with a half-hour clip like this one just being in the middle there all of a sudden. But I'll push for 36 or 37. I don't want to make this too long though. Not even for my sake, but like, I just really enjoy talking to this camera. I haven't been lacking on content lately, but not necessarily consistency, but I just, how everything's happened. Yeah, I'll push for one more thing to say about you. Doesn't have to be the last thing. I'm not gonna say anything insulting, by the way. That was in my head for a while. Who else, like, because you mentioned nothing fancy. You mentioned shall not be infringed. Some of the people that may or may not have been troll community people, but you know, and they're all your oldies, not even necessarily from long back, but even just in the community. So probably most likely from the YouTube community. These people, do they define themselves as content creators? Because that would be interesting. They'd be like still doing editing, but still being natural. They don't want to force quality like me. They don't want to force trimming like me. They don't want to like force some kind of a aspect in the world that don't have to be there for them, even though they could still love for it. But I'm not saying that'd be mean. I'm saying like I again, like I said at the beginning of this video, I love that you tried to, that you didn't have to try hard to actually like be yourself, and you were just like, you just basically, you found a community that would, or maybe in some form your people that you were very grateful for, that you didn't just go, oh, is this all there will ever be? No, it's just you just enjoyed it. Maybe that was a simplification of what actually is happening for you, but you know, you wonder how people like me are willing to make clips like this without editing them, even after being a content creator and experimenting with everything, which I experiment discover and all that romancing style, I guess, you know. Thanks for her for giving me that advice, as well as you for giving me your own advice. You know, that's nice. We'll push. We'll keep pushing. I'm sorry, the video is. Yeah. Lambdog, do you know, even without even watching Deep Doc number 3, do you know what I mean by entertainment, results, purpose, and stillness? Because that doesn't have to be its own standalone. It doesn't have to be its own thing. Or do you know what I mean by shell, gel, and propel versus clarity, qualifications, and justice? Do you know what I mean by things like that? Without knowing what that Science Connection series is about, or the Deep Doc episode, Deep Doc commentary. When I say stuff like that, because I am indeed a big thinker. I even had this list from one of the other videos still here. I can read it real quickly all of a sudden. Fundamental context. So that's number 1. Yes, that's fundamental context, oral sustenance, pandering to the aesthetic, duration fetish, complexity, crown camera, honor curse, reposition 4, and experiences betray the instances. That's I already covered in another earlier video, but on my channel. But you know, so I guess I'm trying to show off at this point somehow. But I still enjoy it because Lambdog, I wouldn't be mad if you never saw this video. I honestly don't. I have no idea how much I push for even things to never happen, or happen in a battle or whatever. Or even I've been upset when even good things happened before, and upset when upset when bad things didn't happen. The absence of bad luck is supposed to be a good thing, and that's a very insightful thing to be grateful for. But just, you know, when people can be grateful for what they have, even if it's not magical to them, I guess the trash and treasure whatever thing. Here's that. How about? No, I can't say because I'm cool all of a sudden. I just want to prove something against the cliches, I guess. But the cliches and stereotypes can still be insightful. There are ways that they can be. I heard about how they've been used. I've also heard from myself that they can actually be good standards for things. That's why I mentioned the first Deep Doc was maybe, but pending the cycle at least. But that's what that was supposed to be about. But you can actually just as formally say that a stereotype is just the way it is. But I digress. I think it's like with stereotypes. I'm not digressing from that. But with stereotypes and cliches, they're still worthy to have. I think I've heard that from a psychologist relative. They mentioned that stereotypes can still be a worthy ideal. They really can, and that only a psychologist will know that, something like that. No, but believe me, it's wonderful. I heard that from her. Thank you. I'm thankful for that. Yeah. So if I push for 45 minutes, you still could watch the whole thing and be like, yeah, I my day was made. Oh god. But I really want to be free with this. I don't want to be like, oh, I'll stop at 20 minutes or stop at like 3 minutes and be like, yeah, that's my take. And that can be easily replayed in time. But the highest I will ever go on this whole video is 48 minutes, because I think if I push for 45, I stopped, I would be okay. But pushing past 48 is just gonna be like a burst cumbersome, you know. I don't want to make too many of people watching this other than you and me to be like, oh, you're obviously trying to have something to prove. Okay. lambdog76. Video response. Pushing my imagination with this quite a bit. I can do this. 45 to 48 minutes. Um. What? Oh, I can mention a bit of my YouTube story. That'll take a while. I I started off in 2011, 2010. Those were my earliest videos to be from the start, right off the bat. I made content that was still high value even back then. Starting off was a claymation clay pop reveal, sculpting reveal that almost had my face in it, and then there was a video that did have my whole face in it. That was I did not have a problem showing myself. My family did, but that's me being selfish. I'm not. I'm gonna admit that now. I'm being selfish about that. I know that it's egocentric to say that. Oh, I'm not the one worried about my own doxing or my own boundaries. I'm worried if everyone else around me thinks that it's actually need to be safe. Sorry, it's true. That's how misunderstood I was the entire time to this day. That is how my strangers and acquaintances know me better in 5 minutes than my family does in years. I'm sorry, it's true. Anyways, it's just by observing what I say and do, Jesus. But even when I'm suffering, especially, or even when I'm having a good day or a good life, happy life, I started off doing that. I did a clay pop interview and a clay pop showcase and a vlog piece explaining how I was upset that I couldn't use the live stream platform before it was on Vimeo, but like a live stream instead of before when they had Twitch and Instagram and of course YouTube streaming. How I couldn't use live stream right away because it was either complicated or I didn't have time to do it, and I was just trying to make sure that people would know that I was a claymation live streamer first off, or somehow having to prove something, I guess, or trying to follow my dreams. A lot happened back then. A lot happened, both good and bad, that were vector points in my life, I guess. And it was just, I think, with that, it was just those two videos in 2011, 2010, where I showed that I was a good content creator right off the bat without having to worry about leisure or community or YouTubing. I think when Roberto Blake says that YouTuber is an identity, content creator is a brand, it's not the whole story. That's most of the point, but not the entire point. I think when with YouTubing there is a sense of style and aesthetic, yes, that like what you're doing with Lambdog, like what you're doing with your videos and your community, that exists when people don't realize it. When they say YouTube is an identity, they don't have to just be that's just content creator on YouTube only or YouTube specials or whatever. Not as a poor example, I guess. I'm sorry, but it's just it makes it seem that there's not the world can exist, and clearly it already does in your world, Lamb. It's just but probably people already understand that without dismissing it, so they don't have to dismiss it. But those two videos in 2011, some reason I didn't come back. I mean, that's kind of suggested with the second video, unfortunately. But what that means with me talking like that, being that frustrated because I've never been frustrated before. Yes, I'll keep pushing that narrative, unfortunately. I keep saying unfortunate, I keep saying regret, I keep saying certain words, gambit. As those two videos were the only ones for years, and then I come back to starting off with VidMe for 2017. The whole year I've made videos for like a dozen and a half, I think, and then went on to some of those videos as a clip for the first video on YouTube. Again, I did a few test channels on accident, some subconscious reason. Yes, subconscious. I subconsciously made videos on YouTube for a while for multiple channels that I actually enjoyed. I meant to do that for leisure, but it felt more automatic than anything. That was a very esoteric feeling. Not just the cultist magic period, but whatever, 2018. But, you know, as per NoFap and even anarcho-capitalism for agorism or counter-economics, those three communities are some of the controversial ones I'm a part of. Where agorism or counter-economics, whatever, NoFap and semen retention, or not even celibacy, I guess. And then and then just straight up spirituality stuff, I guess. Not just the woo-woo, not just law of attraction or occultist magic, whatever, but anything else. Those communities, I guess. So that leads me to making several channels about occultism for a while, and then like the one channel where I started off with occultism, with the video clips from my VidMe channel and all the other content I made over time. I eventually referenced the old channel as well, the Arab 10 one. And then I actually managed to make a cultist spirituality meme post or whatever content for a while. That was really good, nice. It was really a good time for that. It was like it was harnessed in a very clever way. It wasn't like too woo woo. It was just content I liked. That lasted at least like a good dozen or 2 videos almost. But then I went immediately into claymation, and then I went immediately into like tutorials and behind the scenes, and I went immediately into like other varied content, which I've been doing even before. But and up until recently, my plan was to just go back into vlogging, and do it in a way that embraces stuff like that you do, inspired by people like you, lambdog. Whereas like it was going to be raw uploads, being myself, not just improving my confidence, but for even just being my transparent, real self, and not feeling off color, not just actually doing that on accident. But oops, but not just with fake emotions, non-verbal cues, but actually being myself and authentic and talking about things I actually cared about without worrying what people thought about me. And even if that was too personal or too private, for me, the private and personal don't even mean anything anymore, because they mean something different now. They mean oh, I'll say personal, private, but I'll still do something about them. So what is the point? But yeah, there's, you know, so like the plan now was to turn to vlogging and incorporate all my niches and topics into one field, where I could showcase all of them in vlogging, so I could showcase all my varied content in vlogging, and then do other things and still do the deep docs and the claymations and all that, etc. Through that stuff, and then songs, communication, etc. OST, etc. Music, piano, and lyric singing. That was the plan, was vlogging, and inspired by stuff like your community, I would try to do it where I could be more myself, and then maybe even not just be a content creator, also be the kind of community person that would be relatable. I've always been that kind of a risk taker, leap of faith person. I've always been like, oh, I can be the person who takes these dangerous risks, knowing that I could very well take care of myself and be safe, and not that safe path, but more like people thinking, oh, just be considerate, just be frugal, be not even just those examples, but like more like where they're just you don't. I like when Sparrow said that it's possible to live a simple life without worrying about being important, but I do want to be above mediocre at some point if I can, if I'm not already, you know. I feel like it's just a matter of time before I just become the person that does transcend YouTube in some ways. Maybe not the worst possible or best possible ways, but just still being myself, at least, whether it's Consecration or YouTube or commuting on YouTube, the platform, social media, and however traditional or new age I would be. And I think I'm proud of you, lambdog, because I think you're the kind of person who just manages to express that ideal. You don't shame people who are content creators, but you also like where you are now with your just the simpleness of YouTube with the complexness of your ideas, and I love that. I love that you do that, and as a person who's respected you for a good year or two or more, I applaud that. I hope you come back every once in a while if you do, and like without Happy Pump, because that's another video for now. But yeah, stay so because so much on the move. This is a very video response to lambdog76, and if we put it on a playlist, that'd be nice. Otherwise, I'm good with that. So, see you guys later. Hope you watch the whole thing if you do. See you.